everybody have a nice Mother's Day weekend. Always fun. All right, we've got a hearty group of 16 this morning. So why don't we get started? This morning we're going to talk about the hero's journey, and we'll end it with where you can actually listen to some of this and through a interview with a gentleman named a professor named Joseph Campbell, who was the one who kind of came up with the hero's journey, and Bill Moyers from NPR. But so we'll get going here now. So the hero's journey, as I just said, was kind of coined by Joseph Campbell, who was influenced by Carl Jung. And he had this famous book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And he describes the hero's journey or the hero's pattern as this: a hero ventures forth from a common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are encountered and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow on his fellow man. And so it's the hero's journey is really about when people go on a journey, they get called to a journey, they go through a learning process, the trials and tribulations, they become masters, and then they return. And the hero's journey is a common template of stories that involve a hero that goes on adventure, is victorious, decisive, and comes home changed and transformed. And it shows up in a lot of places. And just one more definition from Joseph Campbell is the monomyth. And he kind of coined that term, the monomyth. The monomyth is the individual myth, right? And the monomyth is a term coined by Joseph Campbell, commonly referred to as the hero's journey. It examines the stages of the hero who goes on an adventure, faces a crisis, wins, and returns victorious. And so I want to just show you, so where does, in today's world, where does the hero's journey show up? And it shows up in ways, in places that are kind of interesting. So, like, we would know in a classical sense the hero's journey from things like the Iliad and Homer's Odyssey and things like that, right? Ulysses and all. But in today's world, the hero's journey shows up in some pretty cool places. Now, I think the one that might be more easily identified with is Star Wars, right? Where I'm a little rusty on my Star Wars, but I'll do the best I can, right? Where Luke Skywalker is called to go on an adventure. He is reluctant to do it, a little skeptical about it, goes through trials and tribulations, masters his Jedi skills, and becomes victorious. And like if you drop down to like The Lion King, because I remember watching that, I can't tell you how many times I watched that with my girls, right? The Lion King is right? Simba, after his father's killed, leaves the pride, goes on his own journey, doesn't want anything to do with, leading the pride, has his own trials and tribulations, then becomes the master, masters his skills, and then comes back victorious, right? And you see the hero's journey in all sorts of places. And I think it's interesting when you see them in a more contemporary sense. And so what does the hero's path look like? So if we were to kind of chart it out, is you first have the call to adventure, and then the trials, and then the transformation, and then the hero, he or she, returns to the world that they knew, a changed person. And I want to just share this with you. The cycles of change in our lives, right? Every challenge we face follows the path of the hero's journey, regardless of the scope. So when we look at it at an individual level, right, we're all on a hero's journey. So we start in discovery, and then we move through development, we go to mastery, and then actualization. And those are the process of change that we all go through, right? Regardless of what the scope of the change might be. Now, if you compare this to the hero's journey, which we are all on, we're all on the hero's journey, right? You have discovery, and then in the hero's journey, the call to adventure. You have development, okay? In the hero's journey, it's trials. You have mastery, and in the hero's journey, that's transformation. And then in the end, you have actualization, and in the hero's journey, that's return. And so we can equate the hero's journey to really every part of our lives and almost every experience we've had. They can be mundane. You know, I learned how to do this thing. I learned how to play an instrument, right? Or I wanted to go back to school and I wanted to get a degree, or I wanted to start a career in real estate. How did I do that? And excuse me, and they're all designed that way, okay? Where we're all on the hero's journey, and every journey that we're on, the path is the same. And what we follow, whether we're following it in our life cycles, or we're following it in the hero's journey cycle, it's the same thing. And I think that's what's so cool about the hero's journey. It really, for all of us, it provides a synopsis for us about how we move through life and how we handle the things that are put in front of us. So I thought that would be a fun thing to share, just because it's come up, at least to me, a number of times. I have a rule of threes. So anytime I see something or I'm exposed to something 3 times in some close succession, then I act on it. And so in the last couple of weeks, I've had the hero's journey come to me in different ways 3 times. So that's why we're doing this. So it's rule of threes. We can actually do one on that. We could do a mindful Monday on the rule of threes. So, and so if you want to know more about the hero's journey, there is this series with Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell, and I think it was done in the late 80s. And so you can, as you can see by the screen here, it kind of has that late 80s texture to it. And it was a PBS series, which you can get it on YouTube. You actually can buy the book, you can buy the audio book, or you can buy I believe it's a hardcover as well, where Moyers is interviewing Professor Campbell and just on the hero's journey, and they have these conversations about it. Now, what's interesting about this too is at the time that George Lucas was getting ready to film Star Wars, he had Joseph Campbell with him out at Skinwalker Ranch, which Skinwalker Ranch, you can do your own research on that. That's kind of interesting. Skinwalker Ranch, you can look that up. It's I won't tell you what it is. You can look it up. But anyway, they designed and they wrote for the play, to get the manuscript ready at Skinwalker Ranch, and they actually brought Joseph Campbell out there to actually help with the constructing of the characters, so that it fit truly the hero's journey. So super fascinating. He talks about that in here as well. So it's a little bit of a long read or a long listen if you're going to do audio, but it's really worth it, and it really goes deep into the things that kind of make all of us and how we leverage the experiences and all that. So I hope you enjoy it. So Joseph Campbell, the power of myth. You can check that out. And then if you want to know where Star Wars was, where the manuscript and the story was kind of buffed up for Hollywood, research Skinwalker Ranch, and it will give you a little bit of insight as to the creation of Star Wars. So questions, comments? Got some chats here. Yeah, that's a good one, Lucian. The president of Ukraine. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, really. I mean, of course, there'll be much to be written about this moment in time that we're in, and certainly how he's influenced events. So, okay, well, good to be with everybody, and I hope you have some fun doing this research. It's worth it. So take care. Have a good week.